So, I put a video on YouTube like 3 years ago about fixing a generator on a toy hauler here, which is mine. The carburetor was messed up and it kept bogging out. Anyway, I put a video on there and it got a bunch of views. I mean, not a lot, but enough to where my friends were like, dude, that's a lot of videos. So, I thought I'd put another one on today on my refrigerator on the trailer. So, this is a Norcold gas and electric refrigerator. Now, I'll explain to you how it works, because the last time I put a video on, people were like, oh, you weren't even fixing anything, you were just explaining it. So this time I thought I'd show you a couple things and get into detail on how it works, and I'll show you what you can look for if things are broken on yours. So, you have two options. You have gas, which is propane, and you have auto, which is electric. Now, if you don't have gas on, it will revert to electric, but you have to be plugged in to a wall with your service port on the trailer. So I'm going to show you how this works. We're going to put it on gas. Okay, gas is on. Follow me. Okay, here is the refrigerator outside unit. This is where everything's at. This is where your problem's going to be at when you're working on it. So I'll show you a little bit about it. Okay, so the way this thing works is, think of it as a water heater. Oh, that's fine. That's my meter. Okay, yeah, we can leave it there. So think of this as a water heater or a furnace of some type. The way the cooling system works is, on your refrigerator, it turns on a compressor, which then creates the gas inside, which is refrigerant or freon, to transfer the heat and turn into cold. So in this system, RVs have ammonia in them, these containers here. So I'm not going to get into that. That's a whole different game. I'm just going to show you what to look for when yours breaks. So I'll show you the basics here. Okay, so if you look at this, this is your propane line that comes in. Right now we have it running on gas, which is propane. So it comes into here, and this is your gas valve. This is what turns on and off. It turns the burner on. So the goal for this thing to do is, see this thing over here? It's a little coil inside here. And what happens is, it's like a burner. So this has to stay hot and burn. So gas comes on through an ignition source, just like your stove, your water heater, your heater at home. It heats up. So this is your ignition control module, which turns on with an igniter here, which is a little sparker, a little pilot burner, which heats up. Now if you look inside there, right over here, turn it a little bit more. See that fire in there? That's the fire that's heating up this thing inside, okay? So while that's heating, it's taking this guy, transferring the heat, and then heating up the gas of ammonia, and that's where we get the cold air in the refrigerator. Okay, so if that's not on, it won't cool. So I'm going to show you a couple things you can look for that would help you out. Okay, now follow me, check this out. Right now we're on gas, so if I were to turn it off, this is my gas valve. Look inside here, where that little white probe thing is, that's called the igniter. It's trying to spark, but I had the gas off, so it's not going to heat. Now what will happen is, if it doesn't heat, it will turn off and fail into a safety mode. So I'm going to put it back on, and now it's on, so it's going again. Okay, so if I wanted to run it on electricity, come back over here. The way these things work is, if I turn it off, if I put it into auto, the first resort it's going to look for is to run on gas. If the gas is off, it will run to electricity. So if you have your propane on the trailer on, but your trailer's plugged into power, it will only go to electricity, and I'll show you how that works and how that heats it up. So, but if you have your propane on and you turn it on, it's going to go to gas right away. Unless I were to go over there and turn that valve off on the actual refrigerator, and then if it doesn't see gas, it'll fail out and turn on electricity. But that only happens when I put this into auto mode. So let's put it into auto. There we go. Okay, now follow me. We're in auto, so it's gonna either choose gas or electricity. Like I said, the first resort it's gonna go to is gas. Burner came on, ignition came on, fire is on. So now what I'll do is I'll show you this. Let's say I don't want to run gas. I want to save propane in my trailer because I'm running low and I'm hooked up at a campground and I don't have a lot to use. So if I come over here, I turn that off. Look inside there. Listen. It's trying to burn on. It's trying to turn on and fire, but the gas is off. Okay, so watch what happens. After about, I think it's like 30 seconds or so, it'll stop. There it goes. You hear that? Okay, the burner turned off. It failed. Doesn't see gas, so it shut off. Hear that click? Now, I'm running on electricity, and I'm going to show you how. Inside this ignition control module, it has two things it'll do. It'll turn on the circuit for the burner, which is your ignition wire, your gas valve here, and so on. The other one resorts to a heat element. Think of it like an electric electric heater. And what it does is it comes off this control, comes into over here. There's a black wires in the back wire, and it goes up into this. Now instead of gas heating this thing up, it's got an electric heat element up inside that's heating this container up, and that's when it runs on electricity. Now if I came over here and I turn this back on, actually let's try it. It's stuck on electricity still until I were to go reset it at the controller. So if you wanted to run it on electricity and then still have your gas on, you can come over here and turn this off and it will still be okay. But if I were to go in there and reset it right now and put it back to auto, it's going to come do the same mode and come over here and turn back on to gas, and the gas will be running again. So I'm going to show you a couple things that will happen on these things a lot of times. I'll give you here's one example. Hey, my heater turns on. I can hear it sparking, but there's no gas coming out. Okay, so this is what I would do. Number one, I'd go make sure I have propane in my tank. If I have propane in my tank, then I know that there's a problem over here. So this is the sequence of how it works. Your ignition control module will come on. It turns on this orange wire, which goes over to this and sparks. So you hear that little click, 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 click sound when it's trying to fire. You pull that thing out. You want to look inside there, and you want to see at the tip of that little probe. Let me get a flashlight. Look inside where the burner's at. Let's see. See that little probe in there? Right there. That's your ignition. It'll spark. So you want to look inside there and see if you see a spark. Okay? I'll give you an example. Hold this right here. Keep looking in there. I'm going to reset it. It's on gas right now. Okay. Hang on a second. Keep looking in there. See that? See where that orange wire goes? There we go. I turn it off, then reset. Okay, right now the gas is off, so it's not gonna. The burner's not gonna come on. But you look inside there. See that little probe at the tip? Look in there. You should see a little spark flickering. If you get real close. Right at the end of that. See that? That's your ignition. That's what sparks. Look for that. Next step, get back a little bit. I'll turn the gas on. Now, if you look inside there, the fire will hit. It comes out through this gas line here. If you don't see fire, this is what you're going to do. You're going to come back to this line that feeds into your trailer. Okay? You can do a couple things. If you look at this guy here, I'm not going to get shocked because it's only 12 volts DC, so don't be scared. These two wires go to a relay. Gas turned off. Okay? if you look inside, hear that clicking sound right over here? This is my fuel relay source. And it's back on. So what I would recommend you do is you can do two things. Put your voltage meter on DC. While that ignition is clicking, these two wires that go to that, oh, AC, I'm sorry. We should have 12 volts, well, it's backwards because I had the probe backwards. You should have 12 to 13 volts DC. That tells you that you're getting a signal from the control module. So these two wires that come from the module are turning this on. Okay? If you hear it clicking like this, well, actually it just timed out, so it won't turn on now until I go to the front panel and reset it. So let me show you. Do that there. I'll reset it. It's going to start over again. That click sound you heard, listen to this. That's this relay turning on. So if you have 12 volts going to it and you don't hear a click, that relay's bad. Go buy a new relay. You can go to RV supply place and get it, put it in yourself, and when you want to take it out, literally it's just this nut and this nut. Now, I'll show you this. Where's my pliers at? If you have gas coming into here, and there is gas coming out, you can pull this nut off that goes to your burner right here, and you should hear gas coming out. In my case, the problem with mine was the burner assembly tube here was clogged up with sediment from the inside of the burner that fell down inside and clogged up the orifice where the gas comes out. Because that was my problem, was I can hear it sparking, but there was no gas coming out, so it wouldn't light the fire. So I took this thing out, pulled it out. I'll show you. Let's turn it off. Real easy. This cover normally goes on there, but I took it off for display purposes. I'll show you the igniter and the pilot. These are problems that happen 90% of the time. I probably shouldn't be doing this because it's kind of hot, because it's been on for a little bit, but okay, zoom in here. This right here is my ignition probe. You can clean it up, get some sandpaper and kind of go against it like this and clean it up that way. That's one thing you can do. When it gets dirty, it won't get a good spark, so your thing won't come on right. Now, my burner, I'm going to pull it off. One nut right there. Make sure your gas valve's turned off when you do this. I mean, if there's no power to it, it should be okay. But, okay. Pull off the nut there. Okay. And here is the burner. So my gas line goes into this burner. Inside here, you can kind of see the tip there. There's a small orifice. It's the size of a guitar string. And what happens is it gets built up, clogged up inside there, so gas can't come out. And that's what happened in mine. If you look inside here, you see all this little sediment in the bottom of the pan there? That was all inside of the burner. So if it gets clogged up, gas can't come out. So what you can do is get some carburetor cleaner, clean it out, make sure that you can hear. Well, what I do is just go like this. And you'll hear the gas coming out. You'll hear the air coming out. That's one sign that it's good. So if I put it back in, make sure it's good. Literally, it just lines right up in there. There's a little notch in the back side that it sits inside of. Right there. And it goes in. Then you just get your screw and just pop it in. It's really not that hard. Get your screw. Screw it back into the face there. So if you don't have gas coming out and lighting it, then check if that's dirty. That's probably what it'll be. So make sure your probe is, you can get some real fine sandpaper and just kind of shine it up. And then this will go back inside. Actually, let's put this on first. Your nut here, real easy. Just put the nut on, push the pipe in. Make sure you hand thread it first. Don't be one of those guys that uses pliers and strips it. Hand thread first. It's real tight in here, so just be careful with what you're doing. You'll be okay. Tight there. Now, put my ignition on. Now, there's only one way it goes on, because if you look inside, it's really not hard to figure out. The screw goes in one hole, so you just put that in, and right there. Put this thing back in. Oops. So just remember that this is how this part is only for when you're running the propane mode. Okay. If you're worried about the electricity part of it not working, then that's different. This is only for propane, because the burner only operates when the propane's on. Okay, so we can turn it back on. Everything's good. I have it back in auto now. Gas is off, so let's what's calling you? Okay, so yeah, we're gonna do this now. I'm gonna put it back into electricity mode until it fails. So it's trying to ignite, but it's off. Okay, it went off, failed out on no gas. Shh, listen. Oh, did it already go? Oh, okay. So right now, these wires have 120 volts coming out of them, going to this heater. So let's say I'm on the electric mode right now, which I am, and the heater is not working. If I come over here, pull this out, put my meter on voltage AC. I come in here. Wait a minute. Am I off? Hang on a second. Okay. You know what? Okay, sorry, I had it on the switch in the wrong mode in there. So yeah. So if you wanted to check the heat element condition, what you can do is come over here. Check this out. You put your meter on resistance. Let's say you're in electrical mode. You're not running gas. And you want to see if the heater's working, your heat element inside this. You put your meter on resistance. Okay. you come over to this jack, which goes. Oh. You know what? I'm thinking differently. I'm sorry. You gotta pull the cover off. I'm not gonna do that. So anyway, these two wires, if you wanted to test the resistance of the heat element, you pull these two wires off the box inside here, put your meter on resistance, put one end on one end of the wire and the other end on the other. You should have a resistance value. Okay, so if it's a good resistance value, that would mean that your depending on the wattage of your heat element, would tell you how many resistance it should be, how many ohms it should be. So that's one way to test the heater element in that. Should be good. That's all I can think of, kind of. So make sure your ignition control module is turning on, sparking. Your pilot valve turns on through your relay, sending gas to the pilot here, or your burner. Turns that on, creates the fire. Those are all the things that would make this thing run. If it doesn't, then there's probably a problem inside this. And to explain the inside of a control module, just know that if you're not getting signals in, if you're getting signals in and you're not getting signals out, that's clearly a problem with this. So let's say you're getting your burner's on, it's running, but there's no ignition. Oh, let's say you were to fire it up, but you're not hearing a spark sound. Now you can't test this because it's a high voltage ignition signal. But let's say you come on, your gas valve turns on, but there's no ignition. That's a sign that this module is bad. So you can replace it from there. Trying to think what else. Yeah, that's about it. So just know that when you turn the machine on auto, it will only run gas first, and then if gas is not there, it will turn on electricity. If you have the machine on gas, it will only run gas. Electricity will not come on. So the goal is to make sure that burner is running when you're in gas mode, and the fire is hitting here and turning on heating this tank up. If it's not, then you got a problem. 90% of the time, the problem could be inside here. So that's all I gotta say. Thanks for letting me show you a little bit about this. Yeah, so be good. Let me know if you guys have any problems. I'll try and get back to you and give you pointers. So if my video helped you out, give me a like. I don't ever say that, but okay, cool. Thanks. Have a nice day.